But this question. So if we're paying players to play now, why is opting out still a thing? And I've thought about that a lot lately because Cedric Johnson, for example, for Ole Miss, the only Ole Miss player opting out. He is not going to be a first or second round pick. And I know in this business we're supposed to have a super hard take, right? Like, oh, he's disloyal and he should play, and if he doesn't, he's a bum and all that stuff. Or the other side defend him profusely like he's my son. But I think both things can be true at once. I've never been faced in my life with a decision like Cedric Johnson's to where all he has to do, at a minimum, all he has to do is show up in a few months, just be healthy in a few months, and at a minimum, he will be a few $100,000 richer. I've never had that decision in my life, where if I just maintain my physical health for a few months, I will be, at a minimum, a few $100,000 richer.
I think it's more immediate than that.
But
I think for Cedric Johnson, don't you think, Borky, he needs to go and perform really well at the Senior Bowl?
Exactly, and that's in a week, and so I understand the decision. It makes sense to me. I get it. I don't think he is a bad person. I don't think he's disloyal or any of those things for making that decision to protect his body where the Senior Bowl is invaluable for somebody like him who's a fringe prospect as opposed to a guaranteed first rounder. I think if you're a guaranteed first rounder, it's a totally different conversation because it's millions and millions and millions of dollars waiting for you. But if you are a salaried player, generally speaking, I don't know how much Cedric Johnson made from the Grove Collective. He made something. I don't know how much. So this is more of a general statement. If you are getting paid to play for a school, if you are drawing salary to play for a school, you should play in every game that the school plays if you are healthy enough to do so. And I just miss me with it's just an exhibition stuff. Oh, bowl games don't matter. The Peach Bowl, this game matters. If you're talking about the Birmingham Bowl, maybe it's a different conversation. Penn State in the Peach Bowl, to win 11 games for the first time in the history of your school, that matters. It's meaningful. And if you say that, well, the Peach Bowl doesn't matter, it's just an exhibition, well, then what was Louisiana Monroe in late November? What game has more meaning, Louisiana Monroe in late November or the Peach Bowl? So I understand his individual decision. I get it. But, man, I think these guys, if you are a salaried player, which is what they are for a school, you should play in every game that the school has on the schedule.
I need to give that some more thought. I think on the surface, I agree with you. I mean, if these are monthly contracts, were you paid for the month of December? If you were paid for the month of December, it kind of feels like you should play in the month of December. Or did your deal run out in November? Or did you when you opted out, did that terminate whatever was left of your deal? I don't know. I don't know exactly how that works. C-Spire text line, do you know of any opt-in, opt-out clauses that are NIL associated, i.e. your contract is back-end loaded. If you opt out, you are financially penalized? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. I think you make a good point, though, Borky. I really do. With Michael Borky and his take just a moment ago that if you are paid via NIL and your team is playing a game and you are healthy, you should be in it, regardless of getting ready for a Senior Bowl or a draft or whatever else. That's just part of the deal. I don't know if you can ever pull that off. Bubba in Starkville says 100%. If you take the money, you should play. If you don't, you're a turd. That's what Bubba says.
And maybe he did. Look, if he was supposed to get paid for December and didn't, then okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's one I totally agree with Borky. Chris and Madison, undoubtedly, they should play if they are being paid regardless. Thank you, Mike's sentiments exactly on opting out. They're paid players, and they should play. And I would not be surprised if there's somebody listening who goes, man, they're sure talking openly about, who's getting paid and how much they're getting paid and making life decisions for them. And I think we've got to adapt the way we talk about college players.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not disrespectful, but everything about NIL is very public except how much guys are individually getting paid and how much money collectives have either in their bank account or pledged to them. Those are the only two things that are not talked about publicly as it pertains to NIL. I mean, you have guys making decisions to come back for a final year of eligibility simply because they are getting paid and they're fringe NFL guys. Borky, that never would have been an option in years gone by. Hey, and here's a hot take for you. College football is better because of it. You have veteran players with lots of experience who are fringe NFL players. And by the way, being a fringe NFL player is not an insult. That means you are on the edge of being one of the best football players on planet Earth. And you've got guys who aren't quite sure, okay, will I get drafted? Will I be a day 2 draft pick, a day 3 draft pick? Am I in line to make a practice squad? And so they're making financial decisions and life decisions because they're going to be compensated as if they are an employee. I know we can't say they're employees. I get that. But here you go. And if you've got more better players staying in the college game longer, then it stands to reason that the overall product at the college level is better. I mean, a guy that comes to mind that falls into this category is Caden Prescorn at Ole Miss.
Yep.
Tight end coming back for another year. Fringe NFL guy. Announces he's coming back. He gets an NIL deal with the Grove Collective. He's got a wife and a kid and another one on the way. It's a sound financial decision to do something that he probably loves anyway, which is play football, play college football. John says these kids are figuring things out along with the rest of us, and being advised by people also is new to who are also new to this. No judgment from me without knowing all the details. I agree in principle with Borky, but I'm not up in arms about it.
Yeah, and that's why I prefaced it with I've never been in those shoes before. I don't need to maintain my physical health to get paid a whole lot of money, and you don't know the situations of these individuals. Like there's a radio host in a different state that called a transfer player a traitor and a coward and quoted Bible verses about him.
Oh, you're talking about the guy talking about Juice Wells.
Mm-hmm. You have no idea who depends on Juice Wells. You don't know what his upbringing was. Some of these college football players had great lives and grew up in safe neighborhoods with lots of money and didn't want for anything. And some of these guys have parents that can't keep their lights on or have children in some cases. You mentioned Prescorn, or have siblings that they are financially responsible for. So, Cedric Johnson is the catalyst for this conversation. I don't know what his situation is. And I've never been in those shoes. So I don't think he's a bad person or anything remotely close to that for making this decision. But man, I do think though, if NIL is going to be a thing and they want to be professionals, then you got to act like a professional. There's a lot of Carolina Panthers that don't want to play this week. Their season's over. And I know the money's a lot different, but still, they're going to play. And they're going to play in Week 18 as well. Their season's over. They're the worst team in the league. But a bunch of guys are going to line up and play because that's what that's what you do as a pro. You're paid to play, so you play.
Get a message that says, I would think that the NIL deals would be structured like a coach's contract. Hopefully there's incentive for playoff games or high-end bowls. Then the players can make the choice on giving up the pay because the pro payoff is better. It's a business decision that everyone makes. If schools gave them the money without stipulation, then tough nuts for the NIL people. Here's what I'm not entirely sure of. Would that be like a performance stipulation? Or would that be different? That's a showing up stipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't make NIL deals be performance based, which is to say you can't say to Quinshon Judkins, let's not use Quinshon Judkins. Let's use Blake Shapen as the example. Mississippi State's transfer quarterback from Baylor. You can't say to Blake Shapen, hey, the dollar amount you are paid by the Bulldog Initiative is based on your stats. If you throw for 2,000 yards, you make X. If you throw for 2,500 yards, you make X plus 25,000. If you throw for 3,000 yards, you make X plus 25,000 plus an additional 25,000. If you're the SEC Player of the Year, you get a $50,000 bonus. If you lead Mississippi State to 10 wins and you start 80% of those games, you get a 25. You can't structure it that way. Because these are not pay-for-play deals, Borky. This is name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, come on. That's the worst part about this. To me, it's not the players getting paid. It's how secret we have to be about all this.
And by the way, I think incentive-based contracts are not a good thing. I mean, if you want to lead to locker room discord, let a certain number of touchdowns for a running back be the basis for how much they're paid.
Yeah. You do get that in the NFL, but the base salaries are just so much higher that, like Baker Mayfield, for example, he's going to get paid a certain amount of money for taking 85% of the snaps for the Bucs this year. So he'll get like $1 million or whatever as a reward for being the starting quarterback. But again, it's different. It's similar, but it's different in the NFL because they're all getting a very significant amount of money, so it evens out.